Hello, my name is Tamara Kraker. I am a coach, facilitator, and speaker on self-awareness and the Enneagram. And today I am joined by my good friend, Susan Boissonneault. Susan also is a coach and facilitator. She works with the Working Genius model. And today she is my guest as an Enneagram 7. Thanks for being here today, Susan.
Thanks, Tamara. I'm excited.
I think
Of
it's gonna
course.
be I think it's gonna be really great. I know sevens bring so much positivity, so I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So let's dive right in. I would love to hear how you found the Enneagram. What's been your journey to get there?
I don't remember my first how I found the Enneagram, but it's been several years now, and it was just one of those revelations. I mean, I'm certainly someone who's always loved any kind of inside work, any kind of personality test. So as soon as I heard about this, probably on some kind of podcast,
Mhm.
I dove right in, and I just thought it was fascinating.
Mhm.
And I think the thing that has been the most interesting to me is really understanding how we're all motivated by different things.
Mm.
And so for myself as a 7, I've always been a seeker. I've been someone who's been really searching for something.
Mhm.
And 7 helped me articulate that what I'm searching for is sort of satisfaction,
Mhm.
fulfillment, happiness, and to
Mhm.
understand that I might do something similar as somebody else,
Mhm.
but the reason I'm doing it is so different. And
That's
so being able to articulate that was really, that was certainly the first time where I'd really understood myself in that way.
I love that. That's so clear. And that really shows us the beauty of the Enneagram, that it gives us not only language, but it helps us see that just because we get to the same point, maybe in work, it may be that we've gotten there for a different reason.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
love that. So you've kind of also answered our next question, which is what made it click that you were an Enneagram 7? Did you want to share any more about that?
Yeah, I mean, certainly the motivation piece is a big part of it, but again, regardless of what personality testing typing I've done, contagious enthusiasm is always the thing that seems to come out. And I felt that I naturally just bring that to a situation when I am excited about something. I can't hold that in. And so, I mean, I certainly joke, and anybody who's a friend of mine knows the amount of exclamation marks that I use in any kind of text or email. And I often have to go back and edit because I'm like, I can't be that enthusiastic about everything. And so, yeah, it's been a really fun way of seeing myself, not just sort of maybe vaguely understanding that about myself, but understanding that it's actually something that's core to who I am,
Mm,
and that it is unique and different, and that it's something that I
mm,
actually can bring to the world.
mhm.
And it's something that the world needs as well.
Absolutely. And on a team, right? Like the need for that person who's like cheering people on a team is so crucial.
Yes. Well, and I mean, again, without all of these different typing systems, you mentioned that I facilitate Working Genius. And
Mhm.
when I did my assessment for Working Genius,
Yeah.
one of those was galvanizing, which
Mm,
totally makes sense as a 7.
totally.
Whereas I am somebody I can take an idea and I can just run with it and get
Mm,
other people excited about it.
mm,
So whether it's just in my regular life or whether it's on a team with my colleagues, knowing that I am able to elevate a person, an idea,
mm,
I really value that now,
mm.
as opposed to it just sort of being something that I naturally did.
Right.
It actually feels like a value that I bring.
Mm. And crucial to a team functioning. And
Mhm.
I love that crossover, right? That's what's the beauty of all of these personality systems. And I think proves that what we're really trying to find is how do humans operate? What's going on underneath? And so all these systems give us kind of different language to explain some of the very real experiences we're having as human beings.
Exactly. And I
Yeah.
think as a leader too, it's so important to be able to understand your people.
Yes.
Self-awareness is important as a leader, but then
Yeah.
being able to understand your people, and especially going back to motivation,
Mhm.
understanding why do people do what they do, and
Yes.
how do the people on your team do what they do.
Yes.
And if you can, as a leader, feed into those
Yeah,
motivations, you are going to have a far more successful team than
absolutely.
if you're trying to manage everybody the same way.
Yes. Well, and isn't that when we're calling it people-centered leadership, shouldn't that be at the center? Is that you learn your people?
Exactly.
And there's tools like Working Genius and the Enneagram that are just waiting for you, waiting for you. They're giving you all the things you need to understand your people and to have those conversations so that you can be a better leader.
No, well, exactly. And, maybe this is getting a little off track, but, the whole point is that I've heard the phrase before, it's called work for a reason. You're not supposed to necessarily, enjoy what you're doing. But the fact is we spend so much time there
Right.
that if you as a leader can help your people really thrive and do
Yes.
what they're naturally good at,
Yeah.
then not only are they going to be happier, your
Yeah.
team is going to function better and your
Absolutely.
results are going to end up being better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And honestly, it feels like directly correlated, right?
Exactly.
Like it feels like completely hinging on the fact that if you know your people, your results are going to blow up. Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, what a great answer, Susan. This is so fun. The next question is, what kind of environment do you find brings out the best in you?
The best to me is when I am dealing like at the beginning of a project.
Mm,
I love ideas. I love possibility. I love opportunities.
mm,
Really, when I can um, be a part of something that is potentially new, potentially um, of course, I exaggerate everything. So I was going to say life changing, but it doesn't have to be life changing. It can be, any kind of shift or pivot, even that really is making a change for the
mm,
better,
mm,
is just really exciting to me. When I
mm,
have that opportunity to be creative, work with people, collaborate.
mm,
I really like to think out loud, and so
mm,
being able to, work with people. I don't necessarily always come in with an idea,
mm,
but I believe in the power of teams and
mm,
working together and
mm.
being able to, again, bring in everybody's strengths and ideas and
Yep.
really formulate that. So the other piece of it too is I would say that for me, I need a lot of autonomy.
Mm,
Freedom is a big piece of who I am as a
mm,
seven. And
mm,
so, being able to be free, not with just my time, not with just the way that I do things, but even with ideas and being able to
mm.
have that freedom to be able to run with something is
Right.
really important to me.
I mean, you hit on like who, if there's leaders listening, just like make bullet points because those are all practical things, right? Working with people, don't isolate your seven out in an office by themselves, making sure that they have the freedom to express their creativity in so many different ways. That was just
Mhm.
so well put. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Susan. So, in kind of the same vein, what are some ways that you get energy at work, and what are some ways that drain your energy at work?
Um, well, again, being at the beginning of a project is always very exciting to me. So then
Yep,
all the alternative is that I know that it takes a lot more energy and effort for me to finish a project.
sure.
So it doesn't mean I can't. It just
Yep,
means that I know that I need to put in the extra effort,
right.
or save extra energy for the end of the project because I'm
Yep,
always ready to move on to the next thing.
sure.
I would also say that, again, working with people, being able to collaborate.
Yep.
I mean, I love to brainstorm. Give me a whiteboard, and
Hmm.
I'm just so excited to be able to throw ideas around and really make them work.
Yep.
Um, I can do it on my own,
Hmm.
but it's a lot more of a stilted process. So
Mm,
I love the energy of other people,
mm,
to really bring out the best ideas.
yep.
Um, and so, back to sort of what I was saying before about autonomy,
Hmm.
sort of the opposite of autonomy is what really drains me. And
Right.
so any kind of micromanagement, any
Mm,
kind of feeling like my work is being nitpicked
mm,
and criticized, I mean, negativity really drains me as well.
mm,
And
mm.
so I'm not saying that you can't criticize me,
Sure.
but that I do need some kind of positive outcome for
Hmm.
it. I mean, that
Hmm.
is the way that you need to communicate with me,
Right.
because negativity will almost make me freeze sometimes.
Mm,
And so framing a criticism
mm,
as a way to improve or
right.
a way to get better
Yep.
is a far more better way of saying it rather than
Right.
just telling me I'm doing something wrong.
Right.
I think that, it goes for any number, I suppose, but I have enough negative self-talk in my head that
Yep.
I don't need to hear it from other people. And
Yep.
I'm going to always be harder on myself than others.
Right.
And so being able to work through something in a positive way
Mm,
and make it an opportunity
yep.
versus just a criticism is really important to me.
You're bringing up such an important point in that we have no idea what's going on internally for people,
Mhm.
right? And regardless of what Enneagram number you are, it's so important to realize that when you come into a conversation as a leader, you only have half the information. You only have whatever you've perceived, right? You don't
Yes.
have what is actually going on internally for the people across from you. So I think you're bringing up such a good point that we can choose to engage with people in a way that does give them energy when we can trust their perspective and we can have a conversation rather than a criticism or a beat down or however that can sometimes go.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So what would you say is something that you know about yourself now that you wish you had known earlier?
Um, I would say just again back to that like contagious enthusiasm, seeing that as actually as a gift that I'm contributing to a team.
Mm,
I think in the past I've thought of myself as really flighty and
mm,
someone who um in my search for trying to find this fulfillment and satisfaction that we talked about
mhm,
at the beginning.
mhm,
Um, to other people, it might come across as not being able to stick with something or not being
mm,
able to really commit.
mhm,
And knowing that that's just the way I'm wired, as
mm,
opposed to it being a personality flaw,
right.
has been really valuable for me
Mm,
because it's a way to, manage that negative self-talk
right.
where that I can't necessarily fight against my internal natural nature.
Mm,
I can express it in a way
right.
that, brings um, a positive experience to the people around me
Right.
as well.
Right.
And so being able to really value this piece of who I am and
Mm,
um, yeah, it's sort of been a game changer, really,
absolutely.
as opposed to being something that I would criticize myself for.
Right. Well, isn't that everybody's model of change is that you accept it first, right? And so it's not that
Mhm.
that piece needs to change. Maybe it needs to look different in different scenarios. But that self-acceptance that this is a part of me and it isn't a bad part of me, that this is a
Mhm.
beautiful part of me. It's that weird double-edged sword of the Enneagram. Something that could hold us back is also the thing that can move us forward.
Right. Well, and I think, like part of Enneagram 7 is like to be this adventurous spirit.
Mm,
And, I'm not necessarily someone who, jumps from planes or who's going to go bungee jumping. I'm not that much of an adventurous seven,
sure.
but I am someone who really craves new experiences. And
Mm,
so whatever I can do to sort of bring newness into my life
yeah.
is really important. And that's what brings me fulfillment. And
Mm,
so I think that also rather than always seeking outward and looking to the future, which I
mhm,
think is a big part of who I am,
mhm,
being able to really be present
mm,
and really think of the good things that are happening to me right now in the
right,
present moment
right.
has been a bit of a mind shift,
Mm,
but it brings me more joy. Like it's a
mm,
quieter kind of joy
yeah,
than when I can go off on a big adventure or a trip
right,
or something like that.
right.
Um, but being able to find the joy
Mm,
in the everyday moments
mm,
is has been really important as
mm.
I grow as
I
an
love
Enneagram
that.
7.
I love that. And such a good lesson for all of us again. It's so that's what I love about the Enneagram is it comes from your experience as a seven, and yet it is a lesson for all of us that there is beautiful things happening in the present moment that we miss when we're
Mhm.
focused or fixated on some of our patterns.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
love that. Okay, just to wrap up our little interview here, what is one piece of advice that you would give to someone who is wired like you?
I think the piece of advice I would give is that to really embrace this optimistic, positive, enthusiastic side of you.
Mm.
Use the exclamation marks, use the enthusiasm, because it really does bring joy to other people. And, if I can make someone smile or laugh like you just did, like that is actually, those are the time, those small moments again that bring you joy or
Right,
bring me joy. And
right.
so, being able to really embrace this part of you and, as you said, accept that part of you,
Mhm.
but then figure out ways to uh, maybe refine
Mm,
of those skills. I think that's the thing with any of these personality tests is just because that's your natural inclination doesn't necessarily mean that you're a master at it already.
right.
So I always like to use the analogy of a like a tuner. And
Mm,
sometimes you need to turn down the
yeah.
enthusiasm, and sometimes you need to turn it up. And you really need to be able to read a situation. And so, I think the tuner works for anything that feels extreme in your
Mm,
personality. So for me, with that enthusiasm button, I really need to turn it up or down depending on where I am and who I'm
right,
interacting with.
right.
And so I think that's the biggest piece is
Mm,
knowing accepting it and then knowing how to use it and really
right.
refine it is a really important piece to being a successful and healthy seven.
I love that. That's such a great way to end this off. I love that concept because that's the double-edged sword. Sometimes we need those parts of our personality and they're really helpful in certain circumstances, and sometimes they're too overwhelming and
Yeah.
they disconnect us from our true selves and from the people around us.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much, Susan. I think you did a great job giving us an idea of the mind of a seven.
Excellent. Well, that was a lot of fun and it's fun. I know I've said the word exciting and fun and enthusiasm a lot today, but that's this is a great conversation. And so I hope that other sevens out there can relate and find some nuggets of wisdom in there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a lovely day.
You too, Tamara.
Bye.
Bye.